Top of the morning, the afternoon, and the evening to you, whomever you may be, wherever you may be watching, looking, or listening. It's your boy Aunt Mo, Anthony Moore. For those of you who don't know, you may not know for sure, but welcome, welcome to You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh. Episode 3 in the building. Never mind the glasses. I went Hollywood. It's really that simple. But welcome, man, to another episode, man. For those of you who have not been here before, welcome to the network. This is the network, kinfolk. You get everything here. Not everything, but you get quite a few things, you know what I'm saying? And some stuff you're going to put in the cart, some stuff when you get up to the aisle, you're going to put it back. That's what you can do here. But you're going to find something that you want or that you need, kinfolk. So without further ado, please, if you're in the chat, say what's up. Say hello. Just don't be rude, kinfolk. Because I would never be that rude to you. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bobby Brown. But please, just speak if you're here. And hit the like. Subscribe if you've never been here before. I promise you, you're going to find something that you want. You're going to be entertained. You understand me? And you're going to be informed. It's going to be educational. All those good things. Let's get the formalities out of the way. Like. Comment. Let me know who in here. Share that thing. You know what I'm saying? And make sure you subscribe to the channel. But with that being said, let's get into it before we get into it, kinfolk. Like I said, pardon the glasses, man. I went Hollywood. But we're going to start this thing off with Travis Hunter. So, this is the question. Will Travis Hunter's body be able to stand up against the rigors of the NFL? Now, before you say that that's hate or you know, I don't watch sports, I don't know what I'm talking about, let's actually look at his injury history, shall we? And this is just a question. You can disagree in the chat if you want to. You are more than welcome. I'm not going to be mad at you for interacting with me. You feel me? But let's look at this. Man, my boy Bruce Glass is in the building. You know what I'm saying? Bruce Wayne. Perhaps he's wondering why someone would shoot the man before throwing him over a plane. Now, Bruce, you never told me. And before we get into it, Bruce, are you a Batman fan? Because it could just be a play on words. So let me know. Are you a Batman fan? If so, what's your favorite movie? Or what is your favorite villain? Tell me that. Because as I said before, Dark Knight Rises is my favorite by far. So shout out to my boy Bruce Wayne Glass. Bruce Glass, he always shows up, he always show out. You feel me? So let's look at Travis Hunter's injury history. So already in the first preseason game, he had one missed tackle. I believe he said he had a drop catch, 2 catches for 9 yards. You know, all of those things, they're not really spectacular by any stretch, but much of the preseason is going to be Manila. It's not going to be anything that's going to be super special. So us looking at Travis Hunter in that perspective, it's not really saying much, okay? They're going to ease him in. Now, with him being hurt, it's going to be very hard because you go from playing in the first game and suffering some upper body injury to now it's full speed ahead and we don't know what we can expect, okay? Are they going to trust you to be able to play on both sides of the ball? Is this a case for Travis to have to only play offense and not defense? Can you imagine playing out there against some of the hardest running backs in the world, some tall receivers that the DK Metcalfs of the world? Can you imagine Travis playing under those circumstances? Because now they're reality. So with that being said, let's look at his injury history. So right now it's saying that he currently has an upper body injury that he suffered in the first game, right? So that he's supposed to be out for the next 2 games, period. They're saying that it's not a big deal because he's going to be able to play the season opener at receiver, if nothing else. But let's look at his injury history from 2024. He suffered a shoulder injury that cost him 2 games against Kansas State, where he initially got injured, and then the following game he re-aggravated it against Arizona. So he didn't touch the field for 2 of those games. Even more impressive on how he was able to win a Heisman when he missed 2 games. But that's neither here nor there. In 2023, we all remember Colorado versus Colorado State. He had the lacerated liver. For those of you who are Cowboy fans, you remember Romo had the lacerated liver. He said he had to sleep in a office chair sitting up. He couldn't lay down. It was too dangerous. I think a lot of that stuff is kind of overplayed, to be honest. but it is what it is. So he missed 3 games with the lacerated liver. If you don't remember, the Colorado State safety hit him when he was not protected, and it caused this uproar. But Travis, being this peacemaker that he is, he deaded that situation. They end up meeting, talking. He's just not for the nonsense, and I can respect that about him. So that was that was 3 games that he missed in 2023. If we go back to 2022, and to my knowledge, I remember the injury being an ankle surgery that he had, an ankle or foot surgery that he had. But for whatever the reason, they said that it was undisclosed, and that he ended up being sidelined for 5 games. Now, is this a history? So we're looking at now. I get it. Preseason doesn't count for much except morale, so to speak, right? So I understand that. But is this making a case when you miss 5, 8? He missed what? 3 games, 5, 8. So 3 games then, and then another 3 games, right? In 2020. No. I'm sorry. 5, 8. So 10 games. He's missed 10 games in college. He's missed 10 games in college based off of injuries. Is this something that is basically setting you up to say you're not going to be able to handle the things that have happened in the NFL, the things that are going to happen in the NFL, if you're dealing with the type of things that you're going to have to go through and you miss 10 games in college, right? And so essentially he's missing 2 games now. So that's 12 games total that he's missed in 3 years. Is that not a big deal? You let me know. Hit me up in the comments. Make sure you hit the like for sure. But let's keep it moving. So I did want to get into some of the other things, right? Because now we're not just looking at his execution on the field. When you become somebody that's in the public eye, when you become somebody who is this role model, so to speak, when you become this superstar, when you're somebody like Travis, who, you play for Deion Sanders, you were the #1 recruit in the nation, and you chose to go to Jackson State. It's nothing new for you to be dealing with the spotlight, right? And to all of our surprise, I think he's handled it very well. I believe that the relationship that he cultivated with Deion set the stage for him to be very much an under control guy. For a lot of times, he wouldn't like to go do his interviews unless Deion was sitting in there. I think that's a kid who utilized having someone who has been very used to the spotlight for over 20 years to his advantage. And so now he's a married man. In the offseason, before you get your life started on the football field, you get your life started in the marriage aspect of things, in the life category. Because football isn't forever. Hopefully his marriage is. But I titled it Marriage Woes. There are false allegations of his now present wife asking for a divorce. Is it false or isn't it? I've built a case for maybe not this being false, but let me tell you something. If you're somebody on here who's not a black person, black people can smell certain nonsense from a mile off. Okay? There were certain things that happened within the context of this relationship between Travis Hunter and his wife that made the hairs on black people's neck perk up a little bit. And so it was so much to it that I thought I would detail it a little bit so you can get some context if you had no clue who Travis Hunter was, who his spouse was, or the things that they've dealt with. So I put here, this is the result of living a private life. So when you don't put your life on display, what happens is you allow people who care or who just want the nonsense or who just want to be public, who just want to be in the circle of communication, you allow these people to come up with narratives, right? And so when you don't have anything, you'll dig up something. Now, the old school saying, where there's smoke, there's fire. So it may not be totally true, but where do we come up with that she's asking for a divorce and that it's $40 million that she's asking for? Not saying that this is totally true, but where are we getting this from? So let's look at this. It says that, and I'm sorry, I lost my place for a second. Be patient. You ain't got nothing going on. It's a Monday night. Calm your nerves. So I said people make assumptions but also it is the result of someone moving flawed. So in the black community, we got a term called flawed. It's short for fraudulent. You know what I'm saying? Not fraudulent, fraudulent. You know what I'm saying? Because you're moving fake. You're moving weird. And so the first thing that we look at is the heart eyes under Anthony Edwards' pick, right? So you put the heart eyes under Anthony Edwards' pick and then you delete it. It's weird, right? And I want to just go ahead and skip ahead to one thing that was said about the relationship that makes you putting heart eyes under Anthony Edwards' pick weird. Okay, so you told people that you weren't initially attracted to Travis Hunter. You then also said that it wasn't about the looks, it was about his person, like who he was, his personality, his character as a man, right? So what we know about Anthony Edwards is he doesn't have a lot of character. And that's just respect. Like, he may do good in the community. He may be a good brother or son or I don't know. Like, he may give to the homeless. But he absolutely said that he didn't want the child, encouraged her to get rid of it, made very light of it. If the reports are true, he paid upwards of $1 million and something to pay child support in advance because he didn't want anything to do with the kid. So for you to put hard eyes under Anthony Edwards' pick, what type of character or morality or personality did he display? What's going on, Miss Reese? You let Bruce Glass beat you to the punch again. But what's going on? What's going on? But yeah, so I'm just wondering, what is Travis's wife's explanation for doing something like that? And mind you, it's water under the bridge at this point. We're just rehashing why this doesn't make sense based off of people's logic. A lot of times people will tell you anything, but they won't tell you the truth. And so that's the thing. It's like, okay, so you curved Travis for months, I don't know, years, whatever. But you put a hard eyes under the guy who's making the money, who's making the plays. He's a big time guy for sure. But what's your reasoning? If my lady put hard eyes under somebody else's stuff, we're gonna have some smoke in the city, kinfolk. We're gonna have some furniture moving. You understand me? And that's just what it is. Not physically. I don't put my hands on women. But we're gonna have a verbal sparring here about what's going on. I need to get some understanding, some clarity about why you moving like that. So that's all I'm saying. So that's the first thing. You put heart eyes under Anthony Edwards' picture, right? Picture, and then you delete it. Stating that you weren't initially attracted to Travis, but your brother is the one who made you aware of who he was. And he didn't just say you. So let's be clear. Travis Hunter is not an attractive guy. I'm sorry. I don't swing that way. I just got two eyes. The brother has to have a great heart. He has to play football at a very high level. He has to speak with such eloquence. He has to dress a certain way. Now, he doesn't do a good job of dressing, but that's neither here nor there. But he's real chill. He just stays out of the way. He loves on who he with. And for all we know, he's been with her this whole time. And he's been a good kid. Okay? So I'm not taking that away from him. But it's just, you can't talk him up. If you're a brother, I'm not talking up the most, okay, I'm a brother. I have a younger sister. I'm not going to be like, hey, you don't see the most popular guy in the school, like, DMing you? No, it don't work like that. It don't work like that. And if I'm being honest, I probably wouldn't even say anything if it was Travis Hunter, because I don't want my sister to be going after somebody for the money or whatever. Like, I want her to genuinely meet somebody who she loves and wants to be in a relationship with, and they're a good person, they take care of business, etc., etc. You understand? Has a good name in the earth. It was kind of weird to me that the brother was like, do you know who this is? And so now it's like you and the brother are super tight, and now she's interested all of a sudden. She said it was because he was in a relationship with somebody else. We don't know what's real and what's not in that dynamic, but it just sounded very weird. So Then there's also the dynamic of her being aggravated when she's seen out at events. Now we're talking about at that time. All I'm doing is placing you a timeline to say if there are remnants of their speaking about some level of divorce or some things that may be going on. Not saying that they're true, but where there's smoke, there's fire, and then there's reason based off of the things that we've seen. Well, all we gotta do is use our own two eyes, kinfolk. All we gotta do is use our own noggin up here and look at the reality of what's going on, right? So the other thing is the aggravation that she's shown at events that they were at. He had some event, and I don't remember what the event was at or what it was, but he's taking pictures with fans. And it may have been something with the draft or something, I can't remember, but either way, she's verbally heard telling him, are we gonna be here all day? And I wanna go to the room and all of this other stuff, right? And Trav, being the cool, calm, and collected guy that he is, pretty much was like, hey, it's fine. You want to go to the room. It's not a big deal. He likes to downplay a bunch of stuff. And if something ends up coming out, right, that there was smoke in there was some issues within the dynamic of their relationship, what I want to know if there are going to be people who say, well, Travis always was protecting her and Travis was always taking care of her and he just wanted the best for. And it's like, bruh, did you not believe you weren't gonna be able to find a million people like that? It was just weird how that dynamic always seems to be like it's just too much room for error based off of what we've seen. So then the other thing is, Trav stated that he didn't go to the party. So this is going back to when they first started, kicking it. Trav stated that he didn't go to parties, but he would go with her and wait outside in the car while she's in there backing it up for the 9-9 in the 2000s. Now, my question is simple. Is he... Hold on. I'm going to say the question. I'm going to go up. I got one more thing. There's also the situation where he won the Heisman and she didn't initially stand up. And Dion, while clapping, had to reach over and say, hey, get up, baby. This is a moment where you stand up and you acknowledge what he's done. Now, I will go out on a limb and say, anybody that's attached to me, anybody that's attached to anybody I know, if something good is happening, there's an acknowledgement to be made. They're not going to be so overcome with emotion that they can't stand and cheer. It's like, let's also look at the reality of the role that a woman serves in a man's life. One of the most important roles is being the cheerleader for that man. When a woman is on your side, you feel like you can run through a brick wall and scale a brick wall. But when they are not, they can make you feel like the lowest person in the room. And it's just what it is. It's understanding the power of your words, right? It's understanding what role you actually play in somebody's life. So, not that Trav paid attention. I think Trav is so caught up in his own world that he doesn't even buy into a lot of the narratives, because how she treats him at home, we don't know. And that's the reality. We don't know how good a woman she is to him when nobody is around. The only issue is, I think that most people who want the best for Trav, quote unquote, meaning that they would like to see him stay financially stable, they would like to see him keep his peace, they would like to see him married to one woman for the majority of his life, or his entire life, that there would seem to be a bit more honor consistently while it's actually something going on in public. So my question is he a good guy or a Simpkin 3000? Is he just a good guy and I want to make sure that you're going to go in there, you're going to have fun, you're going to dance, you're going to twerk at these parties, but you're coming home with me. So I'm going to make sure that you don't end up in somebody else's bed by me being there, whatever. Or just to make sure you don't drive drunk, whatever the thing is. Or is he just one of the most simpleton guys that you've ever met in your life? And this is the rough thing about having information and giving it out as you may know it or find it, is you never know the whole story. Even if you sit down and do an interview, you don't know what happens when they're behind closed doors. But I would just caution my brother, and it's too late now, It is what it is. You can't even get an annulment no more. But I would just caution him in future endeavors in life to be sure to just read the room. That's it. Just be able to read the room. I mean, you guys tell me what you think. Do you believe that this is overblown? Do you believe it's something to the divorce allegations? Or do you believe that people should just mind their own business? Right? But I will say this. Most people who say people should just mind their own business don't mind their own business. But that's neither here nor there. So, anyway, let me take these glasses off. The Hollywood persona is gone. All right, let me take these headphones off too. All right, so let me get on up in here with you. Now let's get into Shedeur Sanders. This is his first quote-unquote, I ain't going to say first real injury because based off of the research that I did, he has had an injury prior to 2025. Now, considering the circumstances of what's been going on, this is his first real injury because it happened at the worst time that it could possibly happen. We all know Shedeur Sanders, some believe, looked over gravely, drafted in the 5th round, drafted behind Dillon Gabriel, whatever, so many quarterbacks, including Jackson Dart, went before him. I mean, what are we talking about here? Who are these guys? How did they perform? And how did they end up getting drafted ahead of Shedeur Sanders? Well, we've been there. We've talked about that. Let's look at his injury history really fast, and then we're going to get into some Dillon Gabriel talk. So, in 2025, before the second preseason game of the season, he ended up with an oblique injury. He is stated to miss significant time. So, there's only one game left, essentially. And so, the issue with this is, being that they were saying that he was 4th on the depth chart, he's the 5th round pick. He doesn't get special treatment clearly because his last name is Sanders, because if he did, he would have been drafted higher from the beginning. That's number one. Number two, you want as much film out there as possible just in case if they cut you. Let's say they actually do cut Shedeur and say he's not worth the trouble. Then you want to make sure that there's enough out there for a team to roll the dice on you to actually pick you up. Because I believe if they take him off the waiver wire, then he's still able to get the contract that he actually signed for versus becoming a free agent if he makes it all the way through without anybody picking him up on the waiver wires, and now he gets the NFL minimum or something like that, right? So there's money implications that are attached to it, but there's also looking ahead at the future to hope that at least if it doesn't go well, that he's put film out there that says he's worthy of playing for another team in the NFL. So, in 2023, looking at his very short injury history, in 2023, he missed the season finale due to a fracture in his back. That's it. So the good thing is, we don't have to worry about there being some real history or threat of Shedeur being out for an extended period of time for injuries because he's injury prone. When you look at Travis, some could argue that he is injury prone and that his body has not been able to keep up with the rigor of what the NFL would be, and this is already just the preseason. So, with that being said, let's move on. Have you ever seen more false support from a GM ever in your life, like you've seen from the GM of the Browns, who, when they drafted him, this was his true reaction. I mean, fam, what's really going on? And then you come to the sideline and you say, I'm really proud of you. Is there some stuff you could have did better? Sure, but, for your first time, blah, 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 whatever. Why are we even having that conversation and he's a 5th round draft pick? You didn't expect much of him in the first place, correct? Dillon Gabriel, drafted in the 3rd round, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to get into those numbers, though. So you just hold your horses. Don't go nowhere. We're going to get into the numbers. But yeah, it seems you're either going along to get along, so you don't want to look like the black GM who's shunning the could be starter, could be superstar, could be franchise player. We don't fully know, or he was never really the guy in the first place. But you're doing that to save face, right? So either he's faking it because he doesn't want to come off to appear too happy to be on the side of Shedeur, or they don't really rock with him. I mean, you decide. Let me know in the comments what y'all actually think about that. But something about it just don't seem right to me. Like he doesn't seem to really buy in. And it's like, if you do, then smile. Like the guy's, I've never seen him smile. Like, you're a GM guy. How did you get this job just being straight face? It don't make sense to me. So I just hope that Shedeur gets a real opportunity to be surrounded around people who believe in him, and it's not just because he was the last best option. So, false support or hedging his bets. Either way, it seems like the organization doesn't want him, or he was never really their guy. Talking about being surprised, he was there. Talking about being surprised, he was there as if he made them rush the draft. Oh, so yeah. So what I was basically saying here is, when you do interviews and you say, oh, well, we were just really surprised that he was there, and, we invite competition and blah, 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 blah. It's like, if you're that surprised, how does he make it past you for 4 rounds? Does anybody know who the first round draft pick is for the Cleveland Browns? Or the second round draft pick? Dude, you only know who the third round draft pick was in that order because I actually stated who he was. Stop making it seem like you drafted these high quality guys. And I think one of those guys may have been Junkins, so pardon me. Junkins is going to be a great running back, so let me be clear about that. But my point is, there's no way that Shedeur Sanders should have made it out of the first round. The Graham kid or whoever it was that they drafted first, it was nonsense, but we don't have to go into that because we've been there before. So it's just the fact that everybody seems so shocked and appalled that he was there and it's the 5th round. Like, stop it, man. I don't like for y'all to sell us crap and tell us it's ice cream. And that's just what it seems like. The NFL, the GMs, all these guys, we can't believe Shedeur made it that far. Well, really? Because you sure did keep that phone out of your hands when he was up to be drafted in the first 4 rounds. So stop with all the shock and awe that he made it. And if that's the case, if he's that good, why is he behind bums? Joe Flacco's a bum. Dylan Gabriel, let's go ahead and get into what I saw when I watched the game. Let's go ahead and get into it. What I saw is that he's jittery in the pocket. He has very tap dance, Gregory Hines, happy feet. Look what I can do. Feet when he's in the pocket. That's the first thing. Unlike the Oregon appeal with the fancy jerseys and the high-speed offense and the fancy play calls, he's not the fastest guy out on that field. Not close. So you're going to have to really develop as a quarterback to have any opportunity to execute at the level that you're hoping to. Not that we hope or we think, but to the level that you hope to. Not a strong-looking arm. Throws a lot of ducks. Shout out to Oregon. Looks kind of small in the pocket. He's not a bad thrower of the ball. He's not a strong arm. It just doesn't look that great. It's not bad, but it ain't great. He threw a pick 6. So already we're hearing some differences, and we're going to get to the stat line, but we're already getting to some of the differences in what we've seen. Because let's be perfectly clear here as I look directly into this camera. The stat line that you're going to get is totally based on what we saw first game playing in the NFL. Shedeur Sanders, 5th round draft pick, 4th on the depth chart, only plays with 3rd stringers, nothing better than that. And what did we see? We saw a great stat line. No turnovers. Don't tell me about what shoulda, coulda, woulda. It doesn't matter. It didn't happen. So we see execution from a quarterback who's never seen a defense in the NFL ever. What we're also going to see is a stat line from a guy who was playing with at least the number 2s, maybe the number 1s, depending on how practice went. He gets ample playing time in practice. Yeah, you had a hamstring injury, but so what? You have had he's had 80% of practice reps compared to 20%, if not less, that Shedeur has gotten. So when we look at that, let's keep that in mind before we start talking about other things or start making excuses. Not saying that anybody is or will, but I'm just saying, let's keep that in mind. What I also saw is that he's good on timing throws. So not so much on improv. So when the play breaks down, he's not your guy. Not a good scrambler. And this is just going off what we've seen in one game. We've seen Shedeur run all around that field, create plays. Yes, he did dumb things. We're not going to make it seem like he's perfect or impervious to mistakes, because he is and was. But Dillon Gabriel was good on 2-3 step drop, get rid of the ball. If the receiver's open, good. If not, a pick six was looming. So that's the first thing. He also, pocket awareness isn't great, but that's clear. Fumble lost on the handoff. So 2 turnovers. So let's look at the stat line, shall we? Let me move this out of the way so we can show the stat line. So we have Shedeur Sanders on the left, preseason game week 1. Dillon Gabriel on the right, preseason game week 2. Shedeur Sanders 14 of 23. We have Dillon Gabriel 13 of 18. So slightly more efficient, less completions, but less incompletions on his end. Now we look down at the yardage. Shedeur Sanders had 13 more yards with 1 more completion. And then the big jabroni down there, we got 2 touchdowns, no turnovers, no picks, interceptions, fumbles. And then Dillon Gabriel has no touchdowns, 2 fumbles, 1 fumble, 1 interception. That was a pick 6. Now when we look at this, the QBR rating is going to be terrible for Dillon Gabriel because those 2 turnovers severely drop your QBR. That's really simple. Shedeur Sanders his QBR was actually in the upper 100s. So just want to keep that in mind when we're looking at the execution or the lack thereof from Dillon Gabriel. And so we'll also get into some of these comments in the media. He said there are entertainers and there are competitors. And he's a competitor. Now, when did he say this? On the sideline before the game. So tell me this. We're just going to use basic logic here. If you are talking about there are entertainers and there are competitors, is there a world where you could possibly see him talking about the media? Sure. It's possible. But is it what happened here? No. And I'll tell you why. What did his coach say? Let's not forget all the pregame theatrics, the heated speech, the Cinderella story is over. Back Shedeur's that last year at Colorado, or the year before, 2023 season, he said that they're fighting for clicks while Oregon was fighting for wins. You were a part of that team, that established team, that Nike sponsored team, that NIL leading team, whatever. I don't know all of the numbers and the stats and the facts on that, but what I'm saying is Oregon is a top Power 5 team in all of college sports. With reason, with the right reason. You have an established program. Deion, it was his first year coming into the conference. You better beat him 42-6. Because they didn't have an offensive or defensive line to stop the run or to dictate the run. What good is it having all of those great running backs and great receivers, decent tight ends, and a powerhouse of a quarterback if you can't keep them upright? So that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying that same kid didn't forget about what his coach planted inside of his head as motivation to go out there and play that football game. So that's the first thing. So after the game, and I tried to pull it, I tried to pull up the actual video, but for whatever reason, I don't know if it's copyright infringed or something, but it wouldn't let me play the sound. I got to figure out my way around that. But he basically clarified and said that he was talking about the media. He's saying he's all for the team. So here's my thing. He never actually addressed Shedeur. He never said his name. He never said, yeah, me and Shedeur talked, and I just let him know it's about us and our team. And, only thing he said was, he's focusing on what he got to do. I'm focusing on what I got to do. He's a professional. I'm a professional. That's all cute stuff. But here's the reality. Dillon Gabriel, you are very much struggling to hold on to that number 2 position. We've already seen the actual live game is not the only place where you're struggling to complete the ball to your actual offensive teammate. We've seen you throw pick sixes in practice as well. So all of that cute stuff, all of the drubbing that you put on Colorado and Deion Sanders, none of that stuff is going to translate to the NFL. My actual thoughts are that I don't see him being much but a backup or a backup's backup in the NFL for a long time. Dillon Gabriel, I'm sorry, but I don't see you in any capacity outperforming a Shedeur Sanders. All things being equal, Shedeur Sanders is and will be continue to be better than you. That's just what it is. So with that being said, let's move right along. So, my question to you, chat, is first of all, have you seen or heard of the youth sports twerk off? Have you seen or heard of the drop low and hump 'em down boys that's playing in the 10 and under league for whatever youth sports organization that this is in the world? Because if you have not, I got a video for you. So let me pull it up. All right. I'm trying to pull this back up. Oops. Hold on, y'all. Hold on now. Ran into a few little issues here now. Oops. Bruh, come on, dog. Alright, bruh. Now, I done played this video 1,000 times and ain't ran into no issues. Bruh, I had this video queued up perfectly, dog. And now it's not playing. Give me a second here, okay? Because now they making me mad. Let me look at my overlays here. I'll tell you, man. Technology will run you hot, dog. Now do this again and stop playing with me. All right. Jeez Louise. Now, for the sake of the original error, I'm going to play this one more time so we can have a clear understanding of what we're looking at here. That little boy was humping the mess out of that ground. Do you hear me? Thank you. I appreciate you, Ms. Reese. I appreciate you. So, no, it's no sound to it. It's no sound to it. It's just the video itself. So, all you're going to hear is the coach going, as he's humping the ground. So, Yes. And so for those of you who've never seen that video before, if you just go back 20 seconds or 30 seconds, you could actually watch it. But that's Humpgate, youth sports. And so I got some. I just based off of that video and what we saw, I just got some questions, I got some comments, and I got some concerns. So number one, we understand that coach is very much immature. Adults have ruined youth sports. A lot of these guys are living vicariously through the children, just like their over the hill parents. There's nothing worse, and I mean nothing worse, for any of you who have been on the side of youth sports where you played, or if you've been able to be a parent that is a full sound mind and body, and you actually were a part of watching other parents. Story time. My daughter was a part of a cheer team. I don't want to even say the cheer team because I thought the coach was mad and insane and out of her mind, and she wanted to cuss at all them kids. And I'm like, she's not cussing at my child. If I don't cuss at my child, she's not cussing at my child. It's not teaching her anything. You're not gonna go through life and have people just absolutely berate you all the time and stuff like that. So there was this misconception about that I had an issue with, right? So my kid is cheering at this event, right? And she's cheering against this team. They're called the Ducks. And these kids were talented. They had their singlet unitards on, and they had the braided weave going down their back and all of that. They were really talented. They would end all of their cheers with a split where they would like do the split and kind of like bounce on it a little bit. And they would period and all of that stuff, right? And I just remember saying to myself, these little girls got yonis. Oh, and I laughed incessantly because they just came off too grown for the cheer competition. They were doing more of like that majorette style competition stuff. It wasn't cheer. It was something else that was talented, but it wasn't cheer. And so what ended up happening is the parents, the moms, or the coaches or whoever for that team, they had this like level of rivalry with my daughter's team and pretty much everybody, but our teams were kind of going at it or whatever. And so what ended up happening is the girls were like winning awards, and they were like really putting it in the face of these like 4-year-olds. Like the team that was actually sitting right next to them was like the 4 or 5-year-olds. So they're taking it very hard. And so the coach gets up to kind of like get in front of the face of the little girl, like get out my kid face type stuff to the 6-year-old or the 7-year-old or whatever. And so then they coach gets up like, you better get on, mind you, it's a cheer event. Like I didn't come here to watch y'all overdo it. I didn't come here to watch you argue with other, like focus on your kids. And then another thing is that every time that they lost, she would say that they're being cheated. When I'm like, I know my own daughter. She probably practicing, but she ain't practicing enough to execute to that level. Like, she was naturally good, but she didn't practice the way she should practice. So, telling them that they automatically lost because someone cheated was too much for me. It was too lame. I couldn't get with it. So, anyway, it turns into this thing where now they're about to, like, fight type stuff. Now, dads and people are coming out the stands, and I'm like, who, where, how, who's finna? I'm not fighting on behalf of the Southside Hornets. Not doing it. And guess who else isn't? Not my daughter. She's a young lady. She'll fight if she has to because she's backed into a corner. If she's being bullied, she'll punch somebody in the face so they'll know not to do it again. But what she won't do is go fight because the coach said, we love to fight. We love to fight. That's what she said. A grown woman at a youth cheerleading event. My girls love to fight. Nigga, pardon me. Who? Yo, who's love to what? I said, not this one. It was my weekend to get the girls. So the girls, I think I had my niece at that time. I said, let's go. She was trying to look for her pictures. Also, they had none of her pictures from her jumps. No videos, no nothing. So it was just a terrible event with very poor acting adults who had very little control over their emotions. And that stuff spills over into the kids. That's the point that I'm getting to. What we teach our kids, how we raise them, what we inform them of what's right, what's wrong, what's acceptable, what's not, very much is going to spill over in how they view life. So when you see this kid humping the ground, first of all, like my boy said, it's very sexual in nature. So why is a 4 or 5-year-old who has a level of skill, why is it okay for him to hump the ground? Why is no one pointing out the obvious of how that's wrong? Are we never going to talk about why I don't care what you believe. He shouldn't be humping the ground. You're taunting. You're teaching poor sportsmanship. And why are you celebrating to that degree? You're a loser. I'm sorry. To be the leaders of any particular thing is to be a servant. And you must learn that it is not about you. To be a leader of any particular thing or people, you must learn that it is about servitude. I don't care what nobody told you. To be a servant is not bad. To be a servant is not beneath you. To be a servant is how you learn that it is not about you. Life is not about you. All the great things you do in life, love it. Life ain't about you though. We are teaching and molding the next generation. So what is humping the ground going to do for that kid? That's all I want to know. You are teaching these kids to be pretentious prima donnas. And they're never going to have respect for their opponents or themselves. Why do you think we have a world full of YNs? Nobody ever told them anything. Nobody ever corrected them. Here's the reality. That kid's going to grow up. Let's see if you're still dominant in 10 years. Let's see if you're still dominant in 20 years. This film don't go away, sir. You now, in a world where kids are committing to colleges and things at preteen and early teenage years, what do you think Nick Saban or any of the great coaches of this era would think about watching something like that? I seen a video where a dad, where his kid actually did well and actually like scored like 2 touchdowns in the game or something like that. Very ghetto, very much so. Very, very ghetto. But in this particular game, I believe that the dad was trying to coerce the coach to pay him because he said he already had offers. And the kid, once again, was about 7, 8 years old. The dad's like, man, you ain't got no offers? Like, what do you think this kid is? He said, you're not playing on this team anymore and you have your dad to thank. Thank your dad for that. Come on, man, work with me, man. Like, we got bills to pay. Why are you... Go get 2 jobs. Why are you trying to prostitute your son out because he's a good football player at 8? You're teaching these kids bad morals, and all these kids want to do is play football. So you told this kid, hey, when you score, when you go down there, we're going to hump the ground. And there's another little bad kid, respectfully, he may not be a bad kid. There's another kid, respectfully, I apologize. There's another kid that is over there too, like, hey, we doing the butt too. Like, what are we talking about here, dog? You got to be more careful. Humility is always in order. You don't think less of yourself, you think of yourself less. Go out there and execute. Because you're going to have to tell these stories one day. And I pray that we are not so far gone that these things become the norm. That these are the things that are widely accepted. Oops, Anthony, I'm sorry, it's too late. It's too late. This already is the norm. This is already what's acceptable. This is already nothing that we aren't used to seeing. That kid isn't automatically punching his ticket into the NFL or the Hall of Fame or into unlimited scholarships. We gotta take a step back and take a look at ourselves. On one of the videos, it said we need OGs back in youth football. We need an old school guy. I'll tell the story that my partner told me about him when he was in grade school. He said he was playing basketball. He had a half-court shot, and he went crazy. Went nuts, running around, celebrating. He got over to his coach, and his coach said, under control, as he should have been, good shot. Act like you've been there before. Much respect to that coach. Much respect to that coach. Because we don't have that anymore. We don't have people who actually care about teaching these. Sports used to be a metaphor for life lessons. Hey man, when you do well, make sure you go hump something. Like, don't be surprised if that is something that somebody really translates from being younger to being an adult. Is now we only celebrate the good things. Now we hump the ground when we do something great, but when we do okay or somebody actually beats us out at something, gets a promotion, actually gets the job, makes more money, now how do we feel about ourselves? Life is not just the metrics to teach us about good things when we win. There's also something about losing. Because you're going to lose in life. But it ain't a loss, it's a lesson and all that good stuff. No, it's a loss sometimes. We got to stop this nonsensical way of looking at life where it's just, oh, it ain't a loss, it's a lesson, I bounce back. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes the business fails. Sometimes the relationship fails. And I'm not saying that you can't get a lesson from it. But it's like, we always try to turn, it's like, yeah, we turn lemons into lemonade, yes. But there's also an aspect of life where we have to sit with these things. It's not cool for your kid to go score a touchdown and hump the freaking ground and you over there like, hey, do that, young new. Like, what are we talking about, bruh? His touchdown was lost in the theatrics. The play from the beginning was actually a phenomenal play. He hit the sideline, he cut it up. It was phenomenal. It was execution. Teach that kid to be better because that young kid is going to turn into a man one day if he's so graced by God to do that. And we want him to understand that there is more game to be played. There is more to be learned in life. We live in a world now where people celebrate the move, the style point, not the actual shot, not the actual win, not the pass that set up the... I remember playing rec ball and doing a pass. It was a fire pass. Boom. My partner scored. I'm like, let's go. But I was always a true competitor, though. Yes, I wanted to win. I wanted to do well. But nothing trumped the team, though. And that's the thing that we're missing. It's about team. It's about we. It's not about I. But this generation, and if I was to name some people... The KDs, what's the bearded guy? The James Hardens of the world. Man, those guys typically, so the only reason, and since we're here, the only reason that KD won a championship or two was because of the team he went to. He didn't have the heart or the wherewithal to continue to grind it out in Oklahoma City. I don't give you points for that. We have to start learning how to get stuff out of the mud. Not everything in life has to be out of the mud. Please hear me out. But some stuff builds character. That's what these kids are missing these days, is character. The ability to go through something and be better as a result of it. Bring back true leadership, true ethics, true morals in sports. They are supposed to represent life, real life experiences. I can't say it enough. It's corny, it's lame, it's cheap. I'm sorry. Somebody has to be the voice of reason to actually say it. It is what it is. And I appreciated the coach who told the kid, hey, you're not on the team no more. Not because you didn't do a good job, but don't nobody want to deal with your daddy. He's trying to extort us. A good player for money. It's like, dude, can he read? Can he spell? Like, this level of selfishness does not teach our kids how to work together or encourage sportsmanship. Kids shaking hands at the end of the game. Somebody falling and you help them get up. Apologizing. Yes, sir, no, sir. I gotta remind my kids of that every time that I get them. But I'm not gonna stop reminding them every time I get them. Because if they don't understand that metrics to where they are using it, whether they with me, whether they with their grandparents, whether they're at school, whether they meet a random person at the park, I don't know. It has to be second nature. So us as parents in youth sports of all places, we have to start, and that may be, in all fairness, that may be the one place where the NIL is starting to trickle down and have a bad effect on kids. Because now, you're just telling your kids, all you got to do is make it to high school. You can get NIL deals in high school now. Name, image, likeness, for those of you who don't know. It is your ability to profit off of your name, image, and likeness. Who are you? Do you bring a crowd? How popular are you? Does your jersey sell something? Are you a top 5 recruit in the nation? Whatever. All of these things now, you're coaching your kids to have an understanding that they can just show up however they want to as long as they play well on the field. And what's going to end up happening is they're going to lose their identity in who they're supposed to be, because football, basketball, track, soccer, hockey, badminton, pickleball, you name the sport, it has a short window. Tennis, they all have a short window. Even if you play them for 30 years, it's still a short window. You're hoping to live multiple years. Not to mention the money that you're going to have to learn to manage as a young football player, basketball player, whatever sport that it is. So keep that in mind, man. That's all I'm saying. If you're Travis Hunter, please do me a favor, my brother. Just be mindful. If you made a decision to marry this woman, hopefully you had the right people in your corner to help you to filter through it. You done been married less times than I have, my brother, and hopefully it stays that way. Shedeur Sanders, I hope that you continue to execute on the field, my brother. You got to get back on the field, though. You can't be injured. There's too much against you at this point for you to... And I know we can't control certain injuries. I'm not saying that. Everybody's rooting for you, though. To that kid in that youth sport, I hope that you have the right people around you who are teaching you and guiding you on what leadership is and how to execute as a proper football player, as a man. Because who you are and what you should expect out of life goes far beyond what you do on a football field. And humping it ain't it. You're going to end up with a bunch of kids, a lot of it. Let's be clear. You can look up probably 30 videos of kids that are dominating on youth sports right now in the world, in Texas, in Georgia. There's not a guarantee that you're going to go do something on the highest stage. And I hope you do. I hope one day you actually see this video and you like, hey, I did. And I'll be happy for you. But hopefully you've learned something about sportsmanship, about humility, about being a leader, about setting the tone. Because being 4 or 5 years old and having grown men hop around you like clown circus monkeys while you do that, that just ain't it. I wouldn't want my son to do it. I wouldn't want my daughters to cheer for it. And I wouldn't respect men who allow that to happen. So with that being said, you've watched another episode of You Gonna Get These Sports, bruh. Hey, I was kind of fussing at them folks today. I ain't gonna lie to you. I ain't gonna hold you. I was fussing at them folks. But it had to be said. Listen, man, if you rock with your boy, you can always do a super chat, super sticker. You feel me? Because we are monetized in such a way. Otherwise, you can hit the Cash App. Oh, it ain't even up there. Dang. Listen, man, let me tell you something. My overlays have been disappointing me today. They're gone. I got to create new overlays. Well, it is what it is. Can't be perfect all the time. But anyway, man, I'm finna get out of here, dog. Y'all didn't want to hear me tonight. Y'all was complaining about me, dog. Thank you to my faithful few, man, that always show up and always support. Love you the long way, you feel me? And I'm gonna continue to do what I do, man. And also, we're gonna be going back to the studio. So the next time you see the setup, I will be back live and live in color at the Mind of a Man studio. Thank you for tuning in to the network. We got merch coming, and I love y'all, man. Appreciate it. Until next time, as I end every show, I love you. May the Lord keep you. I'll see you at the conference, kinfolk. Until next time, you're going to get these sports, bro. Peace. Hey, ain't no hell to the W, Bruce. See, I can't even get off yet before I tell you that. Ain't hell to the win? What, why we say that, Bruce? No hell to the W, dog. You know what I'm saying? Stop doing that, dog. Man, y'all be easy wide there, dog. Let me show my boy Bruce Copy, man. I love y'all, man. Peace.